right, the city of San Diego is a big step closer to putting a half-cent sales tax increase on the November ballot. Our Lynn Stewart has the balance coverage.
The truth is, there are no cuts left that will not disrupt vital operations of our city and be felt in every community.
San Diego's mayor explains why he believes a 5-year half-cent sales tax increase is necessary after the council voted to move forward with putting the increase before voters.
The slow drip of service cuts will become a surge. The options still left on the table include drastic cuts in public safety, closing fire stations, laying off sworn police officers, and longer waits when a loved one needs medical attention.
The council voted 6-2 to have the ballot measure drafted. If it's approved by voters, it would generate $103 million each year. Councilmember Donna Fry, who helped to kill a measure earlier this week, now supports a tax increase if it's linked to 11 benchmarks that must be met before it can take effect. Reforms like eliminating terminal leave for all city employees, lowering retiree health care costs, and bidding out the remaining information technology services.
We need to know what we're going to get from these proposals before you go to the ballot box.
But opponents say the proposal fails taxpayers.
There are 4 tests you should use to evaluate any fiscal reform package: a legal test, a financial test, the fairness test, and the accountability test. This proposal fails all 4 of those tests.
A special meeting is scheduled for Monday to formalize the measure for the November ballot. Lynn Stewart, Sandiego6 News.
All right, well, now we continue the conversation about the possibility of a sales tax increase in the city of San Diego.
And another big topic on the minds of so many, the latest with Arizona's immigration reform law. We welcome political analyst John Dadian to our desk this morning to weigh in. Good morning, John.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here. Let's go back to the sales tax hike. And let's talk a little bit about if this gets on the ballot, what do you think voters' reaction is going to be, and then will it pass? What's your thoughts on everything right now?
Well, there haven't been any recent polls to really gauge where the voters are feeling, but what will happen is there's going to be a large amount of money on both sides being spent. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars on both sides, so that's really where the battle's going to lie. It's going to be able to see if they can sway and convince people. My opinion right now is people are still in San Diego, still having hard economic times. They're having problems paying their mortgage. This half-cent is going to add up.
And then we also have other things being talked about. We got this new downtown library that's going in. We've got the new city hall as a proposal. These are hundreds of millions of dollars in projects. Convention center possibility, Charger Stadium possibility. Sometimes people were speaking this week, they see these big projects and they say, now we want to be taxed even more. What is the argument for yes? I mean, how do you convince people that yes, tax me?
Well, and again, all the points you just made is really gets heavily to the no side, and basically they say you have to have twice as many resources on the yes side to convince, and that's why it's looking very doubtful that if this does get on the ballot that it will pass. On the yes side, they're trying to say that this is the only source that we've got left, the only source of revenue that will help balance the budget. They predict that it'll bring in about $103 million annually if this passes.
Okay, but if it doesn't pass, what is the city council's options here? I mean, we're really running out of time, we're running out of money. What do we do? What does the council do if this is not a viable solution?
I think the best description I heard was by Councilmember Todd Gloria, and he said if this doesn't pass, the only option is cut, cut, and cut. And that's realistic. But again, in today's times, perhaps they should have looked at that a long time ago. And there's a lot of out there that the public is not agreeing with, some social service programs that I think need to have a hard look.
So they say without this, it's going to be about a $72 million deficit next year.
That's annually. That's correct.
A lot of people say pension is still the big, what Carl DeMaio says, the big elephant in the room. Could we actually see pension reform, or is there still too much back and forth with the labor unions at different sides on that? Is pension reform possible in this crisis?
Well, again, Councilmember Donna Fry, I've called this the roller coaster week, that things have changed quite dramatically every 24 hours. What they voted on, what the council proposed yesterday under Councilmember Fry, was to tie this to so-called reform. And they had about 9 points on the reform. Some of them was pension reform, but again, is it really hard reform? Is it really going to be enacted? The mayor has said if this is not included when it hits his desk, he won't put it on the ballot. So these are the type of things we need to look at. What's going to happen, our next step is the city attorney on Monday, possibly as late as Wednesday, but they're shooting for Monday for the city attorney to come back with the actual ordinance, and that's when you'll really see where the rubber hits the road.
All right, another big thing on the minds of so many San Diegans, we've been following this closely, is SB 1070, obviously Arizona's immigration reform law. Now, just new this morning, we're finding out that they're not even going to listen, the hearing's not even going to take place until November 1st to try and look at all the details surrounding this thing. What are you gauging on this? What does this mean for California, San Diegans who've been watching this closely?
Well, the judge in this case has been described by people in the legal community in Arizona as the fairest judge around. So pretty much nobody was surprised on this. The author of the legislation, the state senator, said he wrote this knowing it was going to go probably as high as the Supreme Court, and that's pretty much where it is going to go. The way that it's going to affect San Diegans is because this judge was so smart and so fair, she took a piecemeal. She took the things that she honestly felt needed to be addressed by the courts. That's what's in abeyance. However, Thursday, some parts did take effect. The most major part that affects San Diegans is the part about employer sanctions and making it illegal and enforceable about hiring and not verifying people's legal status. Our local Congressman Brian Bilbray, this has been his big issue.
And you know, Arizona's not the only state that's pursuing something like this. Some 18 states are looking at something similar to what Arizona is doing. California, not one of them. But what happens to all these other states now that this ruling is in effect?
Well, again, that's exactly because it was a federal judge that ruled on it. It does affect all jurisdictions throughout the county. And the part she upheld, not necessarily do other places have it as a law, but they can point to this as a precedent.
Well, let's talk about the politics about this, because it's not going to happen until November. So now we've gotten a whole election cycle for people to go on this. Meg Whitman, who's running for governor of California, has talked about this. Jerry Brown has talked about this. They have very different views. Who is benefited from this? Because there's so many Latinos in our state that might be against this, but then there's a lot of Republicans who are very in support of the Arizona thing. Who benefits from what just happened?
Well, again, because it is such an emotional issue, I think it really is split. What the delay till November gets to do during a campaign season gets to have both sides pontificate without actually any hard law being in effect and hearing. National polls show, even since the ruling, there was a poll released this week, nationally, the majority of Americans overall still support what Arizona passed. And that surprises a lot of people because you do see a lot of the media coverage on the no side. So we're watching closely to see if those numbers change as it works its way through the court system.
All right, it'll be a busy 3 months. Thanks, John, for stopping by and sharing all your thoughts with everything.
Yeah, a lot of big developments to come. We'll see what happens this week. Thanks, John.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, for more information, go to our website, Sandiego6.com. Just click on Hot Topics.